Hello, everybody, and welcome to ReelQuick episode 22. This is a patron-sponsored episode. We are going to be reviewing Jojo Rabbit. Cam has been trying to get Seth to watch this for a long time, so the time has come because I chose this week that we're going to be watching Jojo Rabbit. This was requested by Eunice BBX, so let's just jump into Jojo Rabbit. So quick background on what the movie is. It's a World War II satire that follows a lonely German boy whose worldview is turned upside down when he discovers his single mother is hiding a young Jewish girl in their attic. Aided only by his idiotic imaginary friend, Adolf Hitler, Jojo must confront his blind nationalism. This is directed by Taika Waititi, nominated for plenty of Oscars, won a few as well. It stars Taika Waititi, who plays Adolf Hitler, Sam Rockwell, Scarlett Johansson, who was nominated for Best Supporting Actress for this. It came out in 2019, and I'd say it's definitely a satire. It's a comedy. There's some action in there, but it's definitely just a straight up comedy satire. But I'm going to kick it off first with Seth for his review. And do we want to go around the call of non-spoiler, or should we just go all spoiler for this? Because I feel like if we're making an episode solely dedicated...
There's one big spoiler in this.
But to me, I feel like if we're making an episode that all we're talking about in this episode is one movie, like you just shouldn't be watching this, I guess. I don't know. Maybe we go non-spoilers first. But
I wasn't going to touch on it anyway. So
okay. Well, I wanted to start with Seth because you were the one that was kind of the whole, like Cam was just been pushing you for so long to watch this movie, and you finally did. So what were your thoughts?
I liked it. I think it's important to say that, like, I've said this in the chat the other day, I didn't know it's not polarizing, but there is people who hate it, and I actually fully understand as to why people would hate this, because it's a tragedy which is hard to make a film about, but I actually do think it was made in a good way. So I rated it 3.5 out of 5. Pretty good rating. I enjoyed it. I think a lot of people's issue with it is kind of seeing Adolf Hitler in like this way where he's portrayed as like by Taika Waititi as kind of like this goofy figure. People are like, why are you making fun of it? But then I actually see it a different way, and I'm seeing this is how the propaganda was led, the children to believe, and we're seeing it from the child's perspective, which we don't usually do. When it comes to films about Nazi Germany, about this period in time, we usually see it from the other perspective. We're seeing it from a child's perspective, from what they were led to believe by the propaganda showed them from people above them, and that's kind of how I see it. I think the point is that, like, you imagine that this character is being brainwashed, and then the Taika Waititi's portrayal of Hitler is the propaganda that he's being shown, and we're just seeing it from a different angle. But I think but again, I'm not Jewish, and that's important to say that I understand why some people don't like this. I think it's completely fair enough. I think it's a very, very hard subject. I just think it was done quite well. Now, onto the actual film. I think it's funny. I actually don't mind Taika Waititi's humor a lot of the time. I liked the vampire one, Shadows, Under the Shadows.
What We Do in the Shadows.
What We Do in the Shadows. Yeah, I liked that. I liked that more, I would say. Some of the comedy, I don't find Rebel Wilson funny at all. I'm sorry, I just
Agreed.
don't. I just don't find it funny. Some of the comedy in this was good. Some of it just went. I think the first act was actually good, and then the satire aspect kind of went downhill. But I guess that's important because we'll go on to the ending, because there is big things happening at the ending where it is more of a serious nature. And I think the ending was good, but some of the jokes kind of lost me at a certain point. I wasn't loving what I was seeing, not in terms of being offended or anything like that. It wasn't something where I was watching and fully engaged all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, well, I mean, we can go on to spoilers. I won't say anything now, but there is obviously, like Cam said, there's a big section. I thought the ending was really good, actually. The kind of the war scene where he finds out obviously Hitler's dead, and that kind of sequence where there's the running, the shooting, whatever. I thought that was done really well, and I thought that the acting for the most part was pretty good. But yeah, I can see people's problems with it. I personally don't have those problems. I just didn't think it was amazing. I just thought it was a good film, and I think it was done as respectfully as you possibly can within a subject like this, especially when you're doing a satire, is the main thing.
And you gave it a 4 out of 5 star?
3.5.
3.5. Gotcha. All right. Well, Cam, I'll move it over to you next because I think you're the highest on this film. I know you probably have some fun facts. Save those for when we're just generally just talking about the movie, but what are kind of overall thoughts on the movie?
Yeah, and I think you're maybe right. I know George and I both have a 4.5, so maybe he's higher. I don't know. I'm very high on this film. I have it at a 91 out of 100. I really do enjoy it. again, yeah, like Seth said, there's definitely a way people can be upset with this, be offended by it. And I was reading a bunch of interviews with like Taika Waititi, and he was saying like he doesn't think people would be as upset if they knew he was Jewish. It's not something I knew he was Jewish until watching this movie. So it's interesting that he's like making a kind of movie, and maybe this is kind of how he wants people to remember the Nazis. I don't know, as just like these fumbling idiots, because that's kind of the perspective he tells them from. Obviously Seth said it's from you're supposed to watch it from the perspective of Jojo. Like, this is how, kids are idiots. They make imaginary friends, and in his world, he's been raised with this Nazi propaganda that Hitler is this idiot who is his imaginary friend. Sorry. And then Sam Rockwell's character, who I love in this, is just this big drunken idiot. I find Rebel Wilson pretty funny in this. Like, I'm not going to say she's the funniest actor in the world, and I really don't find her funny in a lot of things. I find her funny in this and Pitch Perfect, and that's about it. And like, again, she's a fumbling idiot. I think this is Scarlett Johansson's maybe not best performance, but it's definitely up there in my favorite performances of her. I think she's like very sincere, pretty funny, a great like mother figure in this, and a great thing for Jojo obviously to look up to. Thomasin McKenzie, I think, is one of the best like upcoming actors. Just, she does not get the respect she deserves, I think. Well, or maybe she does. I don't fucking know. I think people like her. But she's great in this. She's great in Last Night in Soho. She's great in, if you haven't seen Leave No Trace. Old, I'm sure. Yeah, I think she's really good. And then I forget what the main actor Jojo Rabbit's name is, but I think he's really funny. And then the funniest character in this for me is the other kid. It's the little kid. Yeah. What's his name? He's in Home Sweet Home Alone, Archie Yates. And I think the reason he got cast in Home Sweet Home Alone is because people saw this and he was like absolutely hilarious. He is very funny. I don't know. I like really find this movie funny, emotional. I drafted it in my saddest movies ever draft, and we'll get to like the scene. I'm interested to know if Seth cries, because you didn't text, man.
Which is
bonkers, because this is one of the movies that like make me cry.
Yeah. But then
we'll get to it. We can get to it.
I'll say that when
those are my overarching thoughts. I think it's very funny, very well done. And like I said, I understand the discourse on it, but I think I've seen like reviews that are like, why are you making Hitler kind of a likable character? And I'm like, I think if you think Hitler is in any way likable in this movie, you're an idiot. That's my personal opinion on it, but we can move on.
George, you also gave it a 4.5 out of 5. What's your takeaway?
Yeah, I think pretty highly of this film, and I honestly, I'm just echoing everything you guys said, especially Cam, where saying that this movie just like hits every single like emotion for me. It's emotional, it's sad, I think it's funny, I think it has a really strong message of adolescence at its core. I'm on Cam's side with the Scarlett Johansson love. I'm also on the side that she should have won 2 Oscars in 2019 for Best Actress for Marriage Story and Supporting Actress for Jojo Rabbit.
Did she get a nomination for this?
She got nominated for both, but I think she should have won both. I'm on that train when it comes
like
to
that
Scarlett
take almost.
Yeah, so if you want to see how highly I think of Scarlett Johansson that year, that's the answer. But yeah, this is, and I'm going to be honest to all my listeners, I haven't seen this movie in a year, and I've had a busy week, so I wasn't actually able to watch it this week. I chose to watch Cocaine Bear for some reason over Jojo Rabbit. But nonetheless, terrible choice. But nonetheless, I still adore Jojo Rabbit. Like I said, I think it's just a very powerful message of adolescent innocence, and just there's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of lovable characters. There's a lot of like emotion that happens that we'll touch on. Obviously, the big spoilers that are going to come. Seth, if you didn't tear up, you don't have a heart.
Yeah, I don't know what that's. Again, we'll get to
it. I watched it like. I woke up because I was like, obviously I couldn't watch it yesterday. I usually don't leave this late. I woke up first thing in the morning. I didn't even watch it on the TV, which is wild. No, I had it on the laptop. I don't know if I was like as invested, maybe, but it was sad. Maybe I had like a glisten, you know what I mean, like a little glisten.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like a usual like a tear up, I guess.
As long as you feel something, because that is like
the ending. I wasn't just there like laughing. Like, do you know what I mean? It wasn't
like
I was
that.
sad.
Oh man, and we'll talk about like that parallel when we get the spoilers. But,
Tyler, give Tyler's thoughts first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't cry from this. I thought it was sad, but I'm in the same boat as Seth, and I cried a decent amount of films. But I think for me, like Taika Waititi is just a guy that's just simply not really for me. I thought this was well acted. I actually wrote this in my review, so it's interesting to hear Cam and George's take, but I said, like, really shocked at Scarlett Johansson's Oscar nom. Thought she was good here, but nothing immaculate. I thought she was just very fine in this role. I didn't really see anything from her that really stood out to me, but maybe I was missing something. For me, every single like searing joke that was like really great and well done, there was like a throwaway joke that I just didn't care for.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just like I thought this movie was really well done. It was really well done satire. I just didn't love it. Like I gave it a 7.6 out of 10. Like I don't really think I'd ever rewatch it. It's just Taika Waititi style. Like it's just so much of the humor for me just doesn't land. And even though like literally all the performances, like that being said, I didn't say I like love Scarlett Johansson's performance, but there was not a single performance in the movie I thought was bad. Like Rebel Wilson sucked. But everyone else I thought was very good.
I don't think you can say her performance sucked because she's just herself.
No, she's just not funny. That's
right. Yeah, it's just a bad decision by Taika Waititi to cast her.
At that point, she's just being her.
Yeah, but like the bits of Sam Rockwell I thought were quite funny. There was definitely like when he's like getting trained up, those really funny scenes. But it's just like at the end of the day, Taika Waititi just doesn't fully land for me. Really loved how this film was just like completely goofy and bananas for the first 2/3, and it just takes a huge swing and becomes super. I mean, there's still some goofy moments, but mainly the final third is just very emotional and hard hitting. But yeah, I gave it a 7.6 out of 10. Happy I finally watched it. It's just not a film that's really for me, and that's the only way I can describe it. Not in terms of the subject matter or anything. It's just in terms of just the goofy style of Taika Waititi. It seems like for me, whatever medium he delivers a movie in, it's just not going to be completely my cup of tea. That being said,
not Love and Thunder. Sorry, Ragnarok.
No, I'm lower. Well, no, I liked it, but everyone holds it way higher than me.
Have you seen What We Do in the Shadows?
Have not. We'll see if I'll see if I like that.
Funnier.
But I am genuinely surprised at the amount of Oscar nominations it's received, not because it's like not a good movie, but because I just didn't think this would be something like the Academy would be just like nominating left and right, just based on the subject matter, the satire, the style, a little bit of the controversy on the story. But I mean, I'm happy for it. I really thought the editing nomination was a super cool one. I think it could have been nominated for cinematography. There was several shots in this film that I was like, that's quite good. But yeah, I'll leave it there, and we can jump into kind of more general discussion on the film and some spoiler talk. And so at this point, if you want to see Jojo Rabbit and you haven't already, and we've inspired you to go see it because we gave it 3.5, 4, 4.5, 4.5, so all above average marks and some very high marks, go watch it. End the podcast now. Drop us a like. See you later. But now we're going to jump into spoilers, so everything is fair game at this point. Someone jump in and get us going.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take it. I think we just got to start immediately with the scene of Jojo Rabbit's mother, played by Scarlett Johansson, obviously is hung in this movie because she's housing Thomasin McKenzie's character. I forget her name exactly.
I don't think she's hung because she's housing. They don't find. Well, I thought she was hung because she leads she's part of the resistance.
Yeah, I think that is it. You're correct. Sorry. So they don't figure out that Thomasin McKenzie, because Thomasin McKenzie's character claims she's Jojo Rabbit's sister, who they were best friends before the war started. And his
Sam
sister,
Rockwell's character knows because he figures it out, doesn't he?
Well, yeah. So we can get into that, and this isn't a fun fact, or maybe it is. I'm sure it's on IMDb. But I'm going to claim that it's my fun fact. So she says her birthday is the 1st of May. On that card, it's the 8th of January. So Sam Rockwell, who checks the card, obviously knows that she is not Jojo Rabbit's sister. But yeah, so God, that scene, in my opinion, it's done so well because he just recently finally he knows about Thomasin McKenzie's Elsa character, who is obviously Jewish, hiding in their house. And he knows about her, but has not told his mom that he knows about her. They've kind of been connecting. He says and this is, like we've said, a kid that's an idiot. He thinks Jewish people have demon ears or they have horns and they can fly and they can see into your soul. And Thomasin McKenzie's character is just feeding him all of this fake news, stuff because he's writing a book, like an idiot kid would think. And then like they start growing. It's obviously he's seeing her as a sister character, even though he's like, I'm in love with her. But she is supposed to be that like sister character. And then when they finally connect, Jojo Rabbit's basically telling her that they can. It's after Sam Rockwell and the other Reich members come to the house, right? So they come looking, and Thomasin McKenzie's character plays his sister, claims to be his sister. So they get through that, and then he's like, we can just pretend you're my sister. They all think you are. We can be a happy family now. We can tell my mom. And so he's chasing this butterfly through the streets, and that's where he runs into his mom's shoes. And you don't even see her. You don't ever see Scarlett Johansson. You just see her shoes, which is a big, I'm sure it's a metaphor for some bullshit, but shoes are a big note in this because like Jojo Rabbit can't tie his shoes. His mom's always helping her out. That scene, man, it hits me so hard. I don't know why. I didn't bawl because like I don't cry during movies, I guess, but like that scene just emotionally wrecks me every time. You guys can give your thoughts on it, but that's just kind of to lay out what the scene is and what it means to him.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me, the why I like didn't tear up or anything, I think it's just simply because like I wasn't as invested in Scarlett Johansson's performance. So while I like knew it was so sad in the point of the movie, I just don't think that any of the characters sucked me in enough like to be as fully emotionally invested. So that when that happened, I was like, holy shit, damn, that's like very visceral imagery of seeing this kid's like very disturbingly seeing his mother being hung. But didn't move me to tears. Very sad, but I just don't think I was as invested in the relationship just because I didn't value the performances as highly. But that's just me.
Yeah, I think that was my favorite scene of the film, the one Cam described when the Gestapo come in, and then what's his name? Stephen Merchant is the actor who obviously is the one who speaks. And so I think that was actually really good. Some of the jokes in that were really funny, and it was. Go on, Cam.
Just when they hail Hitler like 12 times because they all have to do it individually. That it's that kind of shit that you either find funny or you don't, and I find very funny.
And it was really sad. You make a good point. I haven't actually figured out that there is definitely a meaning for the shoes. But
because then, because like at the end he ties Thomas.
Yeah.
So it's like a meaning of like probably growing up.
Yeah, well, most likely. I did think it was really sad. I think I'm probably a little bit more on Scarlett Johansson's performance than maybe Tyler, but maybe not as much as George. I think she was pretty great, to be honest. And I was invested. I don't know. I wasn't like emotional or upset or anything like that, but in a way I kind of expected it because we already knew that she was kind of a member of this resistance. She was helping out this Jewish girl, so I kind of expected when they were going to come around that was the inkling that they had an idea and something like that. So maybe it was the expectation was already there for it to happen. That's why it didn't impact me as much. But it definitely was sad. I would say the house scene where they asked the date of birth, stuff like that was probably my favorite scene in the film, I think. Anyway, I think that was really well done, like Cam said.
Yeah. And then I don't know, George, your thoughts? Sorry.
I was gonna say, and I know like Tyler said he didn't find himself attached to these characters as much as someone else may have been, and that's why this movie didn't hit as hard for him as he did. But I was super invested in like Jojo's story, and that moment where he sees his mom's shoes was such like this moment of realization for him, like that the world is just bleak and shitty and not what. Yeah, and it's just like such a shift of like a personality for him, and I really enjoyed watching that because it was just like a really cool little character progression that happened because of literally just, running into some shoes in the middle of the street that just happens to be his mom hanging. So I think that scene was done really well. I'm on the side of Seth where that is my favorite scene in the movie. I think it's such an incredible turning point for the character of Jojo and just the way he sees the world. It kind of reminds me of Frankie's character in After Sun, where like the world to her as a child while she's on this vacation is just sunshine and rainbows. And then like she grows up, things happen, and she kind of realizes that, that's not the case. Like shit's happening. And that's the exact same thing with Jojo here, where sees his mom hanging in the streets, and it's just this ridiculous moment of realization where it's like, what kind of world am I living in? What kind of propaganda am I being fed? What kind of lies am I being told? And I absolutely love that for like his character in terms of like his growth progression from what he's doing.
I think it's also worth noting, like on top of that scene, afterwards he immediately goes back to his house and he like half stabs
tries to kill
Elsa, Thomasin McKenzie's character. He half stabs her. And that scene to me also just hits real hard because like he just breaks down crying, and you can kind of tell she knows exactly what happened. And the whole movie is kind of him just being this weak kid, and he's finally, gonna go kill a Jewish person or whatever, but he still can't because he's connected. And that's kind of where, to me at least, he learns like, wow, it's not just we're killing people, and he couldn't kill a rabbit earlier in the movie. And so I don't know. I like that scene a whole lot as well. On top of it, I have a couple other points. I don't know if you guys.
Yeah, go. I'm going to go.
It's worth noting. It's pretty. I also like the small details with Taika Waititi's Hitler character. At the very end when the war is basically over, the U.S. has taken over. I don't know what town this is in Germany. I don't know.
Fictional. It was a fiction. The town that they're a part of is Flankenreich. It's not real.
I think it's interesting that when they're at the very end, Jojo and Elsa they're gonna leave and do whatever they're gonna do because she's free now, or at least free-ish, because the U.S. has come in and taken this town. And Jojo sees one last time Hitler, his imaginary friend, obviously played by Taika Waititi, and he has a gunshot in his head. I like that throughout the movie, Hitler kind of progresses as he does in the war. His uniform changes to mock what he would have worn, and so that's a small detail that I enjoy. And then obviously he throws him out the window, and it just kills Hitler, which good. Do that. The music, I think, in this movie was awesome. They do a lot of German mixes of Beatles tunes, and there's one other at the very end of the movie that's a German remix of a very popular song. I just can't think of it right now.
David Bowie's Heroes.
That's it. Yeah. So yeah, they have a lot of that. I really enjoyed that. I don't know.
Michael Giacchino.
Oh, was it really?
Oh,
cool.
Interesting.
Cool. Good for him.
He's super sneakily done some amazing movies.
Really great guy.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to, like Tyler said, maybe if you fully buy into Taika Waititi's humor and his emotion, I think this balances humor and emotion so well. And if you don't buy into that humor, that's totally understandable. Is it predictable? Probably. They obviously foreshadow at the very start. Jojo and his mother are Jojo and ScarJo. Look at that right there. Yeah, am I right, everyone? They're walking through the streets and see the people hung, and he's like, "What did they do?" And she says nothing. So it's an emotional movie. I got my fun facts if you want them.
Yes, I do.
I would love them.
So Taika Waititi obviously is Jewish. He was asked why he chose to play the role of Adolf Hitler, and he said the answer is pretty simple. What better way to say "fuck you" to that guy? So that's a fun answer in my opinion. Scarlett Johansson, also Jewish, in this role. Taika Waititi has known Thomasin McKenzie since she was very, very little, as he's friends with her parents, who are also from New Zealand. They met at a theater, so he's known about her for a long time. So good.
Is anyone else just waiting?
You fuckers, all right? I always bring good fun facts. I don't know what you're talking about, man. This is on IMDb. It starts with the German version of the Beatles, "I Want to Hold Your Hand." The main character, Jojo, is also derived from one of the Beatles songs, "Get Back." So it's a lot of Beatles influence. Fuck you guys, all right? I'm not doing it this week now. I gave my real fun fact that I haven't found on IMDb, so I'm claiming it's mine, of Thomasin McKenzie's Elsa character. And I think I've said that section, Thomasin McKenzie's character, a million times this review. A million times. But obviously she says her birthday is the 1st of May, and then Sam Rockwell's character can read that it's January 8th, so that's good. At the very end, Sam Rockwell takes off the jacket because they're put into not a camp or whatever, but a holding area for all Nazis, and because JoJo's wearing a jacket, he gets thrown in. Sam Rockwell's character like pulls it off and pushes him aside, calling him a Jew to get him kicked out of the camp.
It was a good ending.
Yeah, I think that's a good ending because it's like a silly thing, but it gives like character moment to Sam Rockwell.
Very well done.
Taika Waititi said, "I don't like the idea of seeing people hang." And that's what led to not showing the face of Scarlett Johansson when you just see her her shoes.
Her shoes.
Sorry. And then
calm down there, Tarantino.
Camp guard foot fetish confirmed.
Yes, I do. And then so the opening song, Komm Gib mir deine Hand, is the German version of the Beatles' I Want to Hold Your Hand, but they add a little bit of a twist where they add a ticking noise every 1.25 seconds in order to symbolize 7 years passing on Earth. So those are all the fun facts I have. Fuck you guys. All right. I'll try. I don't know how to hide it.
You need to think of some other Interstellar fun facts, and then, so you can rotate them.
Film fact.
In this Jojo Rabbit, they planted 1,000 acres of corn and sold it.
Yeah, so you got to work in something like that. Like
everyone's favorite fun
all the
fact.
different memes.
In that scene where they say Heil Hitler like back to back, it's 31 times. In 1 minute.
That's excessive.
Yeah, 31 times in a minute. Waititi said he wanted a funny moment, but also wanted to illustrate the ridiculous Nazi protocols. Yeah, so those are my fun facts. I don't know. I love this movie, man. I could talk about it for a long while. Emma wasn't a fan when she was watching it, but she just, didn't want to watch people die.
This is an all-time movie that you can't be like, if someone's watching your house and you walk by. Yeah, you can't walk by the kitchen and like look and be like, because I don't think anyone would ever look at like a quick snippet of this and be like, that's good. They'd be like, that's the dumbest thing you're ever watching. It's definitely when you have to buy in the whole way.
Being silly. Yeah, exactly. I think it is a movie you got to watch through and through. So damn good.
But yeah, really at the end of the day, it just like wasn't completely for me. But that being said, the fact that I still give it a 4-star based on it's just completely not being my flavor just shows how well I think this was technically executed, how well I think it was performed. Really enjoyed so many aspects of it. It's just at the end of the day, it just wasn't exactly my cup of tea. Anyone have any closing thoughts on Jojo Rabbit before we wrap this thing up?
No, I think we could. I'd be keen to see what you think of Under the Shadows, Tyler.
Okay.
I'm really interested to see what
you have not gotten the name of that movie.
No, not once.
You know what I was thinking? Then I was like,
"What is what we do in the shadows?"
Like 3 times.
Oh man,
what we do in the
shadows?
Yeah, go ahead.
In the shadows.
Well, shout out to Jonas BBX for suggesting this review again, and we will be obviously reviewing another Patreon suggestion this upcoming week, and we have plenty of other Patreon perks, so if you haven't checked it out already, go in the description down below, check out our Patreon perks. There's got to be a tier in there that'll work out for you. Make sure you subscribe, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, support the boys everywhere, all around, all at once, and links are all in the description as always. And that was ReelQuick episode 22, and we will see you next time.